When you think of the normal straight line graph that you have been working with for a number of years, you know that it's got a gradient, positive or negative, it doesn't matter. But if it is perfectly vertical, it's got an undefined gradient, no gradient. And if it is like this, perfectly horizontal, then the gradient is 0. Now that is the important principle that we use in calculus, specifically in Maxima and Minima questions, which is what this question is all about. But you need to remember that that line has got a gradient of 0 if it's perfectly horizontal. Now think of a curve like a parabola. A parabola goes up and it turns. Right there where it turns, it's got a tangent. And that tangent will have a gradient which is equal to 0. It has to be. It has to be perfectly horizontal in the turning point. Now that gradient of the tangent is given by the first derivative. So you find the first derivative, you make it equal to 0 to find out where, in terms of the x value, where is it going to be equal to 0? Because remember, the tangent will go like this, and then it will turn again on the other side. But somewhere along the curve, the tangent will have a value, a gradient value of 0, and you need to find the x value. So you just take the first derivative, make it equal to 0, and then you've got that point. And this is what questions like these are all about. So there's a whole story behind this. It doesn't really matter what the story is. Obviously there's context, but that's not important. You can just read through that and get the context of the question. But the first question that they give us over there, typically in this type of question, will be where you've got two variables. We've got the one side x and the other side y of that specific camp that they're talking about, and we need to get either the x in terms of y or the y in terms of x, and that's what they're asking us to do there, so that you can compile an equation that you can find the first derivative of. And that is what you will find in the next question, typically, is where you will then take the one variable in terms of the other, find something, area, cost, volume, length, whatever, it depends on the context of the question, and then you take that formula and you get the first derivative, and you'll see the next question there, as little as possible. So they're asking you for the turning point, because this is now going to be a minimum turning point. That's what they mean with those little words there, as little as possible, meaning find the turning point, and then typically after that you'll get another question, maybe in an exam, where they will then say determine the cost. This question didn't ask for that, but once you found the value for C as little as possible, the x values, that will give you as little as possible cost, then they will ask you what is the minimum cost, or what is the minimum volume, minimum area, minimum material, whatever it is that the question was actually all about. In this question we don't do that because it's not necessary to really look into that question. That's pretty straightforward substitution of values. For the question itself, this Maxima and Minima question in calculus, just remember the first derivative equal to 0. That's the important thing to remember. And how you get to the first derivative would typically be the first two questions in something like this, where they will lead you to find the equation that you can find the first derivative of, make that equal to 0, and you've pretty much got everything sorted to get full marks for a question such as this.